Greetings, Dumela, Sawubona, Sakpase, Namaste, Obshin, Dubra Ota, Assalamu alaikum, Hotep, Buenas noches, Bonsoir, and good evening. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Lott, Carey, Wise, Women in Service Everywhere Digital Couch. My name is Doriel, and as Larrier, I am your host for this evening, and I want to welcome you to our show tonight. Please, on behalf of our leadership of Lott Carey, and that would be the Reverend Emmett L. Dunn, who is the Executive Secretary Treasurer, Dr. Jesse T. Williams, Jr., who is the first Vice President, Dr. James E. Victor, who is the second Vice President, and Dr. Gina Stewart, who is our President, as well as Dr. Angelita Clifton, who is the President of the Women in Service Everywhere, Reverend Dr. Brenda McBarrow, who is the first Vice President, and Sister Lynette Richardson, who is the second Vice President. We welcome you. On our show tonight is Reverend Dr. Amanda Haines. Let's welcome her to our show.
Hello. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Good evening. As we know, the protocol here in the Lott Carey Wise room is as follows. Number one, of course, make sure that you share this out. We have it on a couple of platforms. We are live on Facebook and as well as YouTube. Please like, comment, and subscribe. That's number one. Number two, we want you to be our stream team. We want to make sure that as we come up with great pieces of information, if you have questions, if you have comments and responses, please drop them in the chat, and we'll be able to pull them up and engage with you during the conversation. And last but not least, make sure that you have your mug, because there's going to be some tea conversations tonight that we want you to join us with this environment. So we have Dr. Haines on our couch tonight, and I'm going to let her introduce herself because she has just shifted some positions. She has done amazing work. She's going to let you know who she was a couple of days ago and who she is today. And then we'll get in touch with our conversation. Dr. Haines.
Well, again, good evening, and thank you, Doriel, for inviting me. Dr. Clifton, God bless you. Thank you for inviting me to be on the digital couch this evening. Just to share a few things about myself. I'm originally from Keysburg, Pennsylvania, a great city right outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My hometown of Port May, and I just carry that with me wherever I go. And I migrated to Norfolk, Virginia to serve at Shiloh Baptist Church in Norfolk, Virginia as the church administrator and youth pastor. So I spent about 8 years there serving the young people of that ministry, as well as working as a advisor and volunteer at Norfolk State University as a chaplain advisor with the campus ministry. From there, I also served with the Baptist World Alliance Youth Department, and I served there. My term was supposed to be for 5 years, and I ended up serving for about 9 years. A great opportunity, a great way for me to work with young people and young leaders and youth pastors and youth leaders from all around the world. I have a dear heart for Baptist World Alliance. I have a dear heart for Shiloh Baptist Church, Bethlehem Baptist Church in McKeesport, and I have an immense heart for Lott Carey, for Missions Convention. I will say I am a product of this environment as well. And I have recently transitioned from my service in Norfolk to the headquarters here in Maryland. And I now serve as the Director of Missions, Partnerships, and Special Projects. So I have a lot of good, exciting opportunities before me, working with Reverend Dunn, working with Dr. Stewart, all of the Lott Carey family, you wise women in service everywhere, men on missions. I'm excited to be here to serve in this capacity.
And we are glad that you are here. So you're a Lott Carey baby, if we'll call you that. Been raised in it. And so your heart definitely is on missions.
Yes.
So let's hop into our conversation tonight. Over the past few episodes, for those of you who have been following us, our sort of subtopic has been on creating safe, sacred spaces within ministry, and how ministry, our churches, not just the church within the walls, but the church outside of the walls, from the minister in the pulpit to the ushers at the doors, to the deacon and deaconesses, to the Sunday school, all of the leaders of the church, and as well as the congregants. We've been doing some mind shifting in terms of rethinking how we, as the laity, as clergy, how we're making space, how we're making the space in our pews and our pulpits and in the choir stands, wherever, for people who have felt marginalized, for people who have felt displaced, for people who have felt unheard, to give them that space, to give them that voice, and to give them those literal and figurative arms so that they can feel welcome in the house of God. And so our conversation is going to be along that same light as it pertains to youth and missions and mission work. So, of course, you've done, as you stated, some great international and global work about taking young people across the waters, or even across just state lines, and having them immerse themselves into other cultures. And you need to do some serious mind work to do that. I just had a conversation a few hours ago about when you leave America, let's keep it simple. When you leave America and go somewhere else, you need to take America's glasses off in order to see where you are going. So why don't we start with that? Um, so how does explaining the worldview of a young person alter their appreciation for what safe, sacred space looks like? So when you're about to take young people away, what do you have to do to help them make that shift?
Well, I will start by making sure that whoever is the person who is going to be the adult leader, chaperone, whatnot, that you already have a good relationship with the young people. Young people will gravitate towards you if they feel safe, if they feel like they trust you, if they feel like you know what you're talking about. It's not, this is what you're going to do, but it's almost like you're a part of this, and we want you to experience this opportunity the fullest. And you have a voice, and you have the knowledge, you have the skills to be able to come along on this journey to another culture or to another country. Um, and if they feel like they trust you, if the safe space, sacred space between chaperone or youth pastor and young person is already there, you're already going to have a good experience. So I know starts from the beginning, of course, with prayer, of course, with the support of your pastors and leaders, but the relationship is also extremely important. Um, Bond before you go. Let the young people bond together, as well as leader and student to be able to bond together. And so when you do that, you do your cultural learning from home. You learn about the country, you learn about the atmosphere, even some of the things that we may not hear in the media. Do your own research, have those times of study sessions before you go abroad that will help the young person already cultivate questions. Have an idea, what do I really want to get out of this experience? God, what do you really want me to learn from this experience? Um, and then, like you said, to encourage young people to take off their American westernized lenses. Um, it's hard for us to do that because it's embedded in us. We are Americans. We are used to having access to water. We are used to having access to food at the grocery stores. We are used to different types of ways of getting transportation easily. You may not have a car, but you may have access to public transportation. Those types of things that in education, young people get to go to school, and it may not be the best schools, or you may hope for your child to go to a certain type of school, but you still have access to that. And so when we allow those types of learning and those the time to talk to young people before going abroad, and have them, hey, you got to take your lenses off. You're going to be somewhere that's unfamiliar, an unfamiliar land. When you do that, it helps the young people understand that this is serious, and it helps them learn how to trust God and to trust who is going with them. And so the environment is already in place to go and to serve wherever you may go. And then when you get to that location, when you get to that country, to that community, that village, knowing that God is with you, the sacred space is still intact, right? And so once you can continue to allow and share and encourage the young people, God is with us. This is different, but this is also going to expand your awareness. And that's one of the most important things that most people go, even if it's for tourism,
Right.
they learn to expand their awareness. Tourism is a little bit different than actually being in some of the spaces of the culture, whether it's through worship, whether it's through missionary projects. It's a little bit different, but your awareness of how things flow and run, and how they could be successful and how they're not successful at home, it helps you. It helps you become more knowledgeable. And so when we encourage our young people to, this is going to be different, know that God is with us, and be open-minded to learn from the native, to learn about the culture, to get a better perspective of what really is going on, to learn and to be observant how they're thriving in spite of. The experience is even better. And then you throw in some worship, you throw in the Bible studies, you put all those pieces together to get the ultimate wholeness of the experience. It can be, and it has been for me, life-changing. But that's important. It's important to have that bond beforehand and encourage the bond with those who you're going to come alongside and serve with.
Excellent. And I'm encouraged that you're talking about the pre-work before you do the work. Developing the deep relationship with the let's say your church group or your youth group before you go expand that relationship and build other relationships when you transfer to another land mass. I want to actually go a little deeper with that question about when you said, what does the pre-work look like in terms of learning about the culture? And specifically, I could go particularly to Google University right now and look up, all right, let's just take Ghana just because I just came from there. And I could look it up and say, hey, I want to look at some videos on the food, the lands, the language, etc. Because you've gone to a couple of different places, and I'm sure you've probably gone to some high places, or not high, but that you frequented certain countries over the years, do you already have like your sort of vault of these are the best videos, or these are the best sort of like video tools? Because not everything that's posted about a country has the lens of authenticity.
Right.
There are some that are just as skewed in order to promote or confirm certain media ideologies that are skewed. So I'm sure you've done your level of vetting, but that's part one. Part two is when you finish, do you allow your young people to create their own version of this is what I learned, so that the next group they can have their own? Well, this is what I learned, and so I want to share it with you. It's like, what do you get, and then what do you give?
I will begin with the first question you asked, and you named it. The world of Google doesn't always give you the best information. So the resource, the platform that you look at is always important. But the best way to really learn and be well knowledgeable beforehand is to talk to where you're going to serve, to those leaders,
Beautiful.
to those people. If you're going to a small village in Kenya, right, and you're going to be working alongside them, you want to hear from them what to expect, what to know. It's their country, it's their people, it's their culture, so you want to hear from them. That is the best firsthand truth, knowledgeable information that you can share and begin the preparation with. So creating those opportunities on technology, we thank God for Zoom, right? Allow
That's
those
what I want to hear. Yeah.
opportunities for the young people and the parents, to sit and hear about, our village, our schools, what we're doing, what we want, what our country is all about,
Lovely.
and it gives not only the place for us to learn, but it also gives the place or the people who we're going to work alongside with their voice. So we're not coming to do what we want to do. We are coming to work alongside, achieve a common goal, and then hopefully I grow and even you grow from our time together in this sacred space that we're talking about.
Excellent. I'm going to pause for the cause for just a moment. And I want to thank my stream team for taking notes. And I want to just bring some of the comments up. And so the first thing we discussed was relationships. And so definitely relationships are key. Before you get on a plane, right? Before you leave the church house and go to somebody else's house, you know how your parents say before you go visit somebody's house, let me tell you the rules. Okay, here are the rules. Don't ask for no additional food. Sit where they tell you to sit. Don't ask to go to the bathroom. You ate before you came. Like they just give you the house rules. But that relationship definitely is key. And then also cultural competence, right? Sort of knowing a bit about the environment before you get there.
Right.
Creating the environment of acceptance and understanding. Thank you so much. And if you are coming on and it says Facebook user, that means that you have yet to click the link where it says, so I can see your name, because then I'll just be saying, hi, Facebook user, but I'd love to actually say your name. So this is encouraging young people to respect the differences. I love acronyms. So engage, encourage, and empower. Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Clifton. And so please keep these comments coming. Talking to the key stakeholders is important. So I'm actually going to ask for like a step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so I'm going to name them as you talk. I'm just going to say, okay, so step 1 is this. Step 2 is this. So again, my stream team, y'all are going to help me out. And shout out to the fact that we're in black. Why are we in black, Dr. Amanda? Because it is Thursday.
Huh? What? You're glitching. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. So we're in black because it is Thursdays in black. And
yeah, Thursdays in black. Yeah, of course. Yes. I'm like, what are you saying? It's just, sorry.
I apologize. Glitching somewhere. So yes, it's Thursdays in black. And so of course, ecumenicals across the world will stand toe to toe on letting the world know that gender-based violence awareness is important and that gender-based violence is absolutely wrong and needs to be eradicated. So thank you to all those people across the United countries and continents of the world for standing with us, with Lott, Carey and Lott Carey Women in Service Everywhere, in particular, and representing that we say no to gender-based violence. We say no. So step one, of course, is getting our minds right, getting us on one accord. Step two then is connecting with the community that we're going to be visiting through the platforms that we have available. So shout out to Zoom, right? Or shout out to all of the other WhatsApp, the platforms that we can communicate in real time in order to see, hear, and somehow walk in the day of the life of the people that we're going to be engaging with, so that specifically the parents, they're not just focused on, well, what I saw on the television was all of this war and devastation. How about the reality is we have homes that are not thatched huts.
Right.
We have walls.
Right.
We actually have beds. We don't, not everybody sleeps on the floor. But these are certain things that, depending on the generation of the parents, they may only have the one worldview that comes through a media lens that wants and usually tries to perpetuate something that not is always the case.
Right.
Excellent. And so thank you for Facebook user who says have daily discussion with your group. And our last comment so far is check out the article in the Wise Salt group on the World Council of Churches initiative. Yes. Okay, so now once we get people, we sort of kind of get their minds right. We let the parents know, they are going to be, eating food out of bowls. And I'm being facetious, but I'm not being facetious. Like literally, I traveled abroad 5-6 years ago, and people actually asked me, so did you sleep outside? I slept in a hotel. Really? Did it have running water? And I had to just hold my tongue and say, yes.
Yeah. That's it's very discouraging how we have been, I wouldn't say educated, but how we have been exposed to the truth about our brothers and sisters around the world.
Miseducated. Let's bring in some Carter G. Woodson.
Right. So, yes, it's very disappointing because, again, they're thriving. It may not be how we think, but they are in their own way. So, yeah. Yep. Being our war. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Dr. Clifton. Yes.
Yes. All right. So let's shift to our second question. Just popped off. Here we go. So can you identify a mission immersion that helped to broaden your worldview? So that might be like, where's the first place that you went where your lenses came, your Western lenses came off and you said, oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
I am moved. Like, I'm definitely, this has touched my heart. I'm going to do this again. I'm committed to this. I'm all in, 10 toes down. And how did that impact the way you create safe, sacred spaces for others?
That was hard because I've been to many of places, and each experience has been different but very impactful. But I have to start at the very beginning. My first experience with Reverend Harewood, who is a Lottarian advocate from Guyana. She's amazing, absolutely amazing. But my first experience as a teenager, her small youth group from my home church in Bethlehem Baptist Church in McKeesport, we went to Guyana and we spent about 2-3 weeks. I think it was 3 weeks. And that was when Lott Carey used to create opportunities for teenagers and young people to go abroad and immerse in the culture for study, for community development, and the whole tier. But that was right before 9/11.
Okay.
And so after 9/11 happened, the whole program kind of shut down because parents and people were afraid to fly, especially long distance, with all the unrest that was going on from what we saw in New York City and in Washington, D.C. Right. And so kind of put a pause on it, and it kind of resurfaced again, maybe about 5 to 8 years ago, but it never, took off again. Hopefully, that may in the future may be able to happen again. Hopefully, but anyways, that was my first experience through Lott, Carey, going to Guyana, Georgetown, Guyana, with Reverend Harewood and her Guyanese family, mission partners, and experiencing the unfamiliar. Um, the touristy part, I'm eating great, delicious food. I'm in another country. I get to go shopping and buy things that say Guyana on it, but after you get past all the hype of it all,
right,
sitting down and hearing the stories of young people my age at the time who were struggling with peer pressure, who were struggling with, understanding how to live out their faith, those different types of things, and realize how we're so much alike, even though we were in a different country. Learning the importance of, during my missional service opportunities, if they're working hard to build a home, I'm going to work hard too to build this home for them and their families. So one of the things that we did was partner with Habitat for Humanity, and it was hot, and it was just hot. I mean,
actually, we were
close to the equator, so it was hot.
What time of year did you go?
August. It was August.
That's
It was August. It was literally a week or two right before 9/11. That's how, in 2001.
So let me just say that one of our people says, and this is Patricia Martin. She says that's her hometown. So Sister Patricia, please let us know what town what part of Guyana you're from. So maybe we can sort of drop a question or a comment in. And that would be really great to hear. And that, yes, we do recognize that we have more similarities and we do differences. You got peer pressure. I got the same peer pressure. You got issues with your parents. I got it too. It don't matter what land we from. There's just some things that are just universal. So excellent. Yes, mega hot there.
So while we were serving, we were building homes. We had big center blocks, right? And we're helping putting a foundation down for this home, for this Guyanese family. And it was a moment when I was carrying a heavy concrete brick, and so was a Guyanese young man. He was like, "You're a girl, you're doing this." And I'm like, "Yes, because this is important to you. This is important to me." And it was that moment and that bond right then and there. And it was an actual demonstration. As I got older, I understand what it means to come alongside, but that was my first experience of coming alongside to assist and help what was the need for that family, for that community. And it stuck with me. It gave me a revelation of, this is what I'm loving. This I'm loving the new relationship, the new friendship I have with the Guyanese young people, with the Guyanese culture and the people of Guyana. I'm loving what I'm learning, what I'm observing. I'm loving how I'm changing. I'm not the same. I'm not afraid to get dirty. I'm not afraid to immerse myself to learn something completely. It's just not a norm for me there's culture, there's language barriers. I'm not used to that, but I just want to sit and learn new words and learn ways how I can communicate with you. And it's part of a vision of when we get to heaven. It's going to be all different types of people together. Here's a small little glimpse of this culture and that culture together, serving. And then our worship experiences as a young person. Beautiful. That was phenomenal to hear them pray in their native tongue. I don't know what they're saying, but when they say Jesus, I know they're talking about Jesus, And it's just this is amazing to me. This is something I want to keep experiencing and keep learning. And eventually it was God calling me a part of my calling was from that very first experience.
So let's pause there. So I want to say thank you. So Sister Patricia Martin, so she's from Lodge or Wortmanville, which I believe is in Georgetown. Excellent. And so she's actually now responding to when you were lifting the bricks and he was lifting the bricks. She says it's because the men always do for women. That's why he was shocked. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And yeah, so partnership is very important and you're walking the walk. So I want to sort of dovetail on that and share probably in a similar experience of being, and it would probably be, so I was in South Africa for the BWA, the Baptist World Alliance, that was in South Africa in 2015. And going on or into one of the, I'll say, townships and seeing some of the work. I think we were sharing food. That's what it was. We were like bringing, we brought, of course, like toiletries, which is what people had asked for. And then when we got on the ground, we had gotten our funds together with people who were there, and we bought like staples, like let's say it was rice and meal and certain other items, and we were then bringing it to this community. And our young people, and two of them happened to be my children, participated, I guess, in something very similar. And so the adults were separated from the young people, and the young people had to, in essence, mix and mingle and spend, the day with the young people from this particular group. And we were watching them, and they were sort of watching each other, and they had, I think their assignment was to make food. They had to make food. So here's the scenario. They're making food, but they made the food. Their children, let's say their youth, said, okay, we have to go fetch wood. And our young people were like, fetch wood? Why are we doing that? Where's the stove? Although there was a stove, but they really wanted they wanted to have a sort of like a very authentic aspect, not the totality, but an aspect. So said, no, we have to go fetch wood. And then we have like this makeshift, they literally made like a makeshift campfire in like the middle of the road. And they're like, well, okay. But the wood, they get some kindling, I guess. They set it ablaze. And our young people were like, this isn't camping. Like, we're just trying to make food. And they're like, no, well, some of us, depending on where we live, we have a communal space, and this is what we do. Right. Here's where it gets very funny. They take out this, they had to like make chicken. So I guess they were like maybe roasting it, put it on a skewer, like turn it in the middle of this like makeshift, like a rotisserie. And then they went to go get this grain. Now, there's one person in here who I think was on the trip with me. They went to get this grain, and they started mixing it up. One of our young women, young ladies, looked at it and she said, that looks very familiar. I happened to come around the corner because I heard her, how she was speaking, and I looked. I said, oh, y'all eat grits? And they said they heard the word grit, and their face turned up, and they're like, why would we eat grit? And I said, that's grits. And they said, no, this is pap. Pap? Wait, what am I thinking? I'm a woman, so I think pap. Wait, no. That's grits. No, that's pap. It was hilarious. When we both looked at the item, I said, no, so grits is, the small hominy cut up, and they're like, okay, we call it pap. And I said, it was just beautiful moment where we just sort of laughed about it after a while. And then the young people were like, okay, so our grits is your pap. But because they knew the word pap has a different connotation in the States, it was just a bundle of laughs. They're like, well, I don't know how I'm going to be able to say I eat pap back home. I think I'm going to just have to stick with the word grits. But when I'm here, I will call it pap.
That's a teaching moment for young people. So when they go back, they can say, I'm going to have some pap for breakfast. What is that? When I was in South Africa, this is what they, you know what I mean?
Right,
so
right.
it's sharing, it's learning, they're becoming more knowledgeable of another culture, and it's probably an experience or a word they won't ever forget, and that's the joy of when you see young people having those experiences, right? As a youth pastor, as a leader, as a pastor, you want your young people to grow up to be the best they can be for God. You want them to thrive, whether it's in ministry, whether it's in the community, in education, and leadership opportunities, technology, whatever. You want them to be the best. And these type of experiences is another level or another kind of oomph for them to get to the next level. And that's what when we create these opportunities, look for these opportunities, plan these opportunities for young people, you want them to not only grow in their faith, but you want them to have these little nuggets to kind of be like, this is helping me evolve. This is helping me level up. This is helping me get to where God is leading me, calling me, preparing me, equipping me to be. And it's and those things will never, those young people won't forget that,
Right. Right. I just had to share that.
Learning experiences. Yes, Dr. Clifton. Yep.
Yes. I just remember that. But and then like past that. Now I don't know if that, I want to say that was authentic is being overused, but that just naturally came. I don't think that the people who, let's say, were orchestrating the experience for the youth, of course, you don't know what's going to come out, but the fact that they were segmented away from the adults, or let's say their parents and their family members, and they were just not really left to their own devices. But yeah, thank you, Dr. Angelina. Yes, it was organic. That's the word I'm looking for. It was organic. And it just flowed. And so you see the students, let's say our students, again, from the States, who most of them were not campers, right? And so they're just like, oh, I'm going back a ways, y'all. Work with me. Remember Eddie Murphy when he does the barbecue thing and he throws the lighter and he goes, oh, that's a fire. Like, that's what our students were doing. And they were kind of looking at our students and like, okay, if you do that, you're going to burn yourself. And we're just like, oh, we're playing around. No. There's a process. There's a science. And it wasn't like our students were like, oh, let me tell you how we do. Their students were like, no, let me tell you how to survive. Y'all want to play? We trying to eat.
Right.
And the rule was, whatever happens to that food, like, you eat what you kill. Whatever happens to that food, you have to eat it. So we're not trying to be silly. You got to get some food, and that's all you're going to eat. So make sure that you grab whatever you grab, you cook it the way we say to do it, because that's all you get. So yes, an organic moment. Thank you for sharing that. So now, as a former youth leader for the Baptist World Alliance Youth Division, in what ways can youth leaders utilize these mission immersions to create safe, sacred spaces as a bonding experience?
I kind of hit on it throughout our conversation. I kind of hinted on it, but I will say the intentionality of it is very important. Intentional with the preparation component, intentionality with making sure you're in complete contact with the mission location and their leaders where you're going to go serve. The intentionality of bringing opportunities for young people to bond. Bonding is so important. And the intentionality of being a mentor through it all. Creating types of opportunities for young people to come together and regroup and talk about their experience, talk about what they have learned, have a Bible study along the way to kind of dig deeper into what the Word is sharing with them in that context. But being intentional about the work about what your objectives are is very, very, very important. And all the steps, the checklist and everything, that's important too. But overall, you want the young person to have experience led by God, right? Because God does the transformation. The Spirit of God does the revelation. You can say things to your red in the face about X, Y, and Z, but they won't get it until God says, hey, this is X, Y, and Z. Let me show you, So your intentionality with the praying, the preparation, the partnership, communication, and with the young people. Mentoring along the way is very important. I'm so grateful for Reverend Harewood, who, when I was there in Guyana on my first experience, she was there and she was mentoring us. She allowed us to have conversations with us. She allowed us to go away and write in our journals and kind of write everything out. She was there to be there as a mentor, as a pastor, as a leader. And it was those little things, but they were very, 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 very crucial for me to have, and for all of us who were there, to have that good, impactful experience. So I will say that, and creating the environment, just a sacred, safe space for young people to trust you, to trust the leaders on the ground, to build those bonding relationships with those other young people, or those natives who they will be in contact with. Having that good environment, safe environment, is very important as well. And if, as leaders and pastors and youth pastors who are thinking about, I want my young person, my youth group, portion of them to have those type of experiences, just always be intentional. This is very, very important for their development. Know that it being laid on your heart is not by accident, and to know that even if one young person was transformed and decides to live a life committed to missions and to service, you have done your part. And those who may not commit in that kind of aspect, in that field, there'll be change, and they may come back more aware of, what, I'm not taking care of the resources or being mindful of the resources I have. One thing I learned from being in Kenya for a whole summer is I don't like to use paper products anymore. I don't like it.
Right.
And the reason why is my observation of how those from Kenya would wash the dishes and pots and pans, and how they would care for it, because it's what they have to eat on. But it was just, this means, this plate, this cup, this bowl means a lot to me. I want to take care of it. I want to make sure I clean it and put away, and it was eye-opening. And not only that, they care for their land, right? We're not the best when it comes to our soil, our land. They care about their land. So they don't want to just put, trash in their soil, the same soil they need to grow their food and get the things that they need, right? So just being in that environment and watching and see, oh, I'm taking advantage of something that's not actually good for our environment, and I learned this from being in Kenya and being among the people and washing dishes alongside with them, and so those types of things, when you're being intentional to make sure the immersion of the experience is very important. Those types of things, you want to be mindful, and you will hope and pray that that's some of the other stuff that they'll get out. So when they return, they may not be committed to missions, but they are committed to being more mindful of how they care for the things that they have in the land that they live on.
Right. And so if you don't get someone that's I'll say totally committed
Mm-hmm.
upon departure, but
Mm-hmm.
when they arrive back home, that I'll say, do some shape shifting, right? They do they have a mindset shift. They become more, and let's use what you talked about in terms of Kenya, they become more ecologically uh, aware. The phrase that's being used today in where we are, and I'll just say in the United States, is becoming more minimalistic,
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good phrase.
more eco-friendly.
Mm-hmm.
I can recall I belong to a food cooperative, and I've belonged to this cooperative. Those of you who know, in Brooklyn, I belong to the Park Slope Food Co-op. Shout out to the co-op. And because it's, some people say it's a cult, it is a cult, but it's a very nice cult because it teaches us to be very, very aware of what goes in our food, how our food is raised, how to be mindful of the people who have to work that land, and if that the workers are not being like fair trade, if the workers are not being treated properly, guess what? We're not buying that food. And most big corporations or big, food companies don't necessarily use those same practices, but they're starting. But one tiny thing that occurred is, and this has to be when I first started about 25 years ago, they used boxes. They didn't use plastic bags. And I remember a cousin of mine came and said, well, where is the plastic? Or why are we just using like the boxes that the stuff came out of, like off the truck? I said, because why do we need plastic? Oh, I don't understand this. And, let's just get bags. And I said, but what happened? A tiny thing. What happens to that plastic bag? It does not decompose.
Right.
It goes into the landfill. It makes the turtles choke.
Right.
Whatever. It clogs up and so just saying that to people. So even your conversation about Kenya and like coming back home and not wanting to use paper products. Somebody comes to your house. When they come to my house, it's the same thing. There's no paper towels in my house. Why? We use towels. We use, things that can just go into the washing machine. Oh, well, just a little wipe. No, 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 no. If I can do that tiny thing, I'm going to do that tiny thing. I'm going to do that tiny thing. But somebody coming back and saying, oh, instead of me holding the faucet open, I'm saying it differently, but keeping the faucet running while you're brushing your teeth.
Right.
You don't understand it until you have to carry a bucket of water on your head for more than about 10 feet because you had to go down to the pipe in order to get that water for the day.
Or you have to wait till the rainwater comes. You have to wait till it rains.
Hello.
And then that's the water you have for the day. And here's another thing that we can name that are another outcome of this. We create advocates, right?
Yeah.
So how you're sitting here talking about, us being more green or mindful of our resources or whatever, now as a young person, I'm learning that and I'm becoming an advocate. I may not learn how to use my voice just yet, but I'm doing it through my actions, right? Mm-hmm. So that's another outcome that when you plan and you're intentional about, these type of opportunities, you got to look for the outcomes of what you hope the young person will become from the experience.
Right. Let me say that on that note, we and this will be a global statement. So this goes to, I'm saying it nicely, everybody who's listening. When you, and the you is the church, and church and communities, even like just local communities, when you send your young people off to college, you send them to get an experience. Most of us in our melanated communities want the young people to come back home and to help move us forward. It is imperative that you provide, what is our term? Safe, sacred spaces, so that when they come home with new ideas, those ideas are heard.
Right.
And that there is room for those ideas to be nurtured and planted in fertile ground, not dry, cracked, rocky ground, but fertile ground, so that if someone comes back home with, let's just say with a studying ecology or whatever, but studying ecology, let's say, and it's like, hey, we have like a roof, or no, we have like a plot of land outside of our church. Can we grow some greens that we can do some farm to table work. Instead of saying, oh, like patting them on the back, great, you got your degree, now go get a job. Like, you want your church to grow because you've nurtured this young person.
Right.
And so allow that space. Yes, thank you so much. Allow new ministry models. Yes, are necessary to keep everything fresh.
Yes.
It is pertinent because if you don't do that, then the wheels of change that you wanted to put in practice are going to get halted. And then you're not going to have a community of the new generation who have what? You wanted them to develop trust in you. You wanted to create this bonding experience, but then like what you've done, when you bring these young people back home, they may not come home totally committed, but they're coming home thinking differently. And so they start to speak differently, walk differently, talk differently, live differently. Allow that to grow within the walls, the physical and the literal and the figurative walls of your ministry.
Yep.
I'll sit down.
Yep.
That really, really, I'm committed to that idea.
And that should be, and that's my last point. That should be part of the ultimate outcome.
Right.
For the church that's sending the young people, when they come back, what they bringing back to this ministry? What are they going to help us evolve into as a church of faith, and creating that space just for those young people who came back? That's very, very, very important. It's not just to go and say, yeah, we sent young people. No, we want to create that space so when they come back, they can bring something else to the life and the ministry of the church. Yes.
Yep. Precisely. Well, look at that. See, we made it.
We did? Oh,
wow. Now, those of you, let me just pull back the curtain a little bit. Dr. Amanda was like, what am I going to talk about for all this time? Oh, my goodness, this is going to be quick. I said, no, we just going to let it flow. Yes, thank you. Yes, so the mindset, right? The mindset works for us all. Thank you, Dr. Clifton. Not just for young people, but yeah, when people are out in the world, and it's not like the world against the church, but when you learn something different that makes sense to growing a ministry, to growing the outreach of the church,
right,
to getting those who are sitting across the street watching the people coming in and out of the church, but they sitting across the street on the chairs doing the barbecue in front of the church. You got to find a new way to get them inside.
Right. or join them outside.
What? Bring the church outside.
Yep.
Bring the church outside. The church without walls. Come on.
Yes. Yep.
So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Amanda. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to the community, to our stream team. Thank you, Dr. Clifton, for taking copious notes and being our note taker for the evening. Let us do just some kind reminders to everyone. Convention.
Yes.
I was not called to do this commercial, but I'm going to do it anyway. Convention. Convention is next week. We want to either see you in the room or we want to see you in the virtual room. Yes. Okay?
Yes.
We are excited to be back in the building after 2 long years of being away from each other. We look forward definitely to seeing those of you who are going to join us in New Orleans.
And if you want to join the virtual platform, registration is closed for in-person, but beginning on Monday, you still have an opportunity. The 8th that's Monday, right? The 8th.
Yes.
You can go on our website and register virtually, and you can still join us and be a part of this great experience and just be immersed and embrace with the Lott Carey family.
And then empower your church community when you get back home.
All right, now. Look at that.
We can flow it.
We can flow it.
So peace and blessings to everyone. Once again, we thank you so much, Dr. Haines. We thank you, Dr. Clifton, for the bright idea of having these cultural and courageous conversations with our mission partners, with our leadership within Lott. Thank you, with our mission partners within Lott Carey and within our Lott Carey extended community. It cannot be done, of course, without the oversight from Reverend Dunn and from Dr. Gina Stewart. And so we are very thankful for the leadership. And we look forward to, in this particular space on the digital couch for Lott Carey Wise, we look forward to seeing you every first Thursday of the month. We look forward to seeing you on the first day of the month for the morning prayer, the monthly prayer call. And especially what's going to be happening in the next couple of days. We are just looking forward to an amazing work at Lott Carey at the convention. If you see one another, if you've seen on these platforms, any of the people who've spoken over the last 17, I think it's our 17th session. So if you see any of those people, please give them a shout out, give them a high five, from far away, depending on how close you want to get. But just acknowledge them and just say thank you for their service and for their commitment to move Lott Carey forward. I'm looking forward to seeing people that I haven't seen for a couple of years that I've only seen virtually, your names. I want them to be faces. I'm just very, very blessed and honored to be the host of this platform. And we look forward to doing greater things in the next few days, weeks, and months. So peace and blessings. Thank you. Oh, here we go. Our last comment. Thank you, Dr. Clifton. The digital couch is a safe and sacred space. What happens on the couch stays on the couch. Good night, everyone. Good night, everyone. If you want to drop any other comments or questions, they will float up, and so we can address them as well. But good night for now. See you in New Orleans.